Good day and welcome to the Sport Wrap Show. I'm your host Ashwin Berry, here to unpack the most exciting sport news from Namibia and beyond. Let's dive straight into the latest headlines on today's hit list. Now, the Namibia Sports Commission made waves today by hosting a high-profile stakeholder engagement with the media and sports federations, all united in their mission to elevate Namibian sports to new heights. Held at the Roof of Africa in Windhoek, the event sparked crucial discussions on strengthening the relationship between the media and federations, as well as boosting sport tourism in the country. Jesse Jackson Kauraitha brings us the inside scoop with this video report.
Participate in Taekwondo. That is progress on its own, that shows sports growth. And of course, we have other federations that are present in all our 40 regions. However, this sports industry, this federation of sport codes remain invisible. Why? Because they are underreported or they are not reported at all. My brother, he was just here from traditional games. He's also preparing to host a World Cup in Namibia on traditional games, 2026. And we are not saying anything about it. Maybe it might be the fact that he is keeping the good product that he has to himself. And he is not looking at strategic points that he can ensure that his consumers have access to this prestigious commodity. So it's us now, the media, to engage with our federations and say, look, you have the traditional games World Cup coming to Namibia. Of course, these are the games that all of us can do. Owela is one of them. I'm sure, is it bingo? It's one of them. All of us have been playing Owela, Amakus, you name them, those games. It's a sport on its own. And we sat with one gentleman this week. He said he wanted to introduce a sport code in Namibia called Spokomi, right? This one now is for us lazy people, right? For me especially. Spokomi is a sport that collects trash. Your competition is just to collect trash. It's a sport. And they have a World Cup in Japan. And it's active in more than 5 countries currently. And Namibia, hopefully to be added. So these are the projects. If you look at this project, it does not only focus on sport. It's mainly invested in the secular economy. It's mainly invested in climate change. So these are the sporting growth, or the growth in our sporting sector that are happening in other events, and yet they remain buried under our beds. All right, I spoke more on economic impact. Of course, we can benchmark on South Africa. South Africa 2010, their revenue went up. Why? It's because of sports. When the rugby team, Springbok, was playing, I'm sure all of us were glued when they were doing their finals. Only to see what? We are not from South Africa, but just because we are from Africa. We were very happy just to watch Springbok lift that cup. And some of us were having goosebumps. You understand? That's the power that sports can bring us to Namibia.
The position Namibia is this place, we can attract sports events to happen here in Namibia. Guess what happens? The more people come here, what do they spend? What does Chelete? I went to Chelete. I don't know the song. I'm terrible at singing those kind of songs. Anyway, so they spend their money on accommodation, on travel, on food, on experiences. So as MICE is set up, the opportunities available for Namibians are to make sure you take care of that. I've been to Ghana several times. In the hotels, like here, in this conference facility, breakfast, there'll be something on the breakfast menu that's the day. Lunch, you will have, what's that rice? You have rice? Oh, you know it. You know, I'm reminded of now that meme, come on, so you can pass. So you can pass. You guys know that one. So we know these things. We know jollof rice, but there's no kapana in our restaurants and our hotels. There's no mahangu in our restaurants and our hotels. You must literally go to specific hotels to eat traditional food. There's no milk tart in our hotels. We have chocolate cake. No, and I'm just saying, what like there's things that I learned growing as a young child. I had like a friend who was Namara Nama, and she used to make like a porridge from wheat and flour, and it had these little bolikis. But it was the best thing I ate at that time. It was so good, and you added milk. And imagine if that could be something. It's obviously something that they ate in their home. I learned how to make it, but imagine how that would be on the menu. Food, transport, making sure people get to the places that they need to get to safely. So we cannot be on the top 10 countries where people die on our roads. We can't be. We need to get off that list as soon as possible. How do we help our people drive safely so that we do not kill our tourists on the road?
Now, in a major win for Namibian volleyball, the Namibian Volleyball Federation, NVF, secured a whopping 460,000 Namibian dollar sponsorship from Bank Windhoek. This generous contribution is part of a decade-long partnership aimed at growing the sport and creating more opportunities for youth to get involved. NVF Vice President Lina Mateos emphasized that the sponsorship will play a pivotal role in grassroots development, ensuring the sport reaches even more aspiring athletes across the nation. Meanwhile, AAN's Target Archery Club added a dash of romance to the sporting scene with its Valentine shoot in Swakopmund. Now, the event served as a warm-up for the upcoming Southern African Regional Championships and World Game Trials scheduled for 4 to 6 April at Marks Park Sports Club in Johannesburg, South Africa. Archers showcased their precision in a double World Archery WA 720 round, a WA indoor round, and elimination rounds. Standout performers Babette Talyard and Jacqueline Katsea achieved national qualifying scores, earning their national colors and securing their spots to represent Namibia at the regional championships. And we absolutely wish them all the best. Now we have reflections from Namibia's cricket head coach Pierre de Bruyne as he looks back on the last 2 ODI games and gears up for the upcoming clashes against the USA and host nation Oman.
Our first game against USA was definitely not the ideal start, especially against the quality outfit. What's required against a team like that is that relentless discipline, especially with the ball. They've got batters that can take the game away from you in a blink of an eye. And we've taken some good lessons from that game. We're going to have to be a lot more better in the next encounter against USA. However, bouncing back after that against Oman was a gritty performance from a gritty team. And I'm very proud of every single player that that showed that resilience after the first game to bounce back and to really graft hard. It was a complete team performance. All the bowlers contributed. The bowling discipline was relentless. Only posting 160 odd runs on a very difficult surface. We knew that we were in the game, and just having JJ Smith back in the bowling unit makes a huge difference for us. He's physical side of things are in a really good place. We're managing him accordingly to ensure that there's longevity out of JJ. But just his skill sets and his experience with the ball in our bowling unit has brought something new to us. I'm so pleased for JC Bolt making his ODI debut against Oman. He showed a lot of maturity, especially down the order on a difficult wicket, facing a lot of quality spin. He looked in control. He was clear in his mind in how to bat on that wicket, and that's really good signs for us as a team. That a young player like him, gets a chance and he takes that chance. We are, however, sweating on his fitness with his ankle injury that he picked up in that game while he was batting, and we're holding thumbs that he can pull through, and hopefully he can recover over the next 2 days to be able to be selectable for that next game against USA.
We certainly wish the Richelieu Eagles all the best in their upcoming games. We're now going to take a very short break, but don't go anywhere. When we return, we'll bring you Zoom In, where we'll recap Jesse Jackson Kauraitha's interview with outspoken consultant Osen Kahiriri on the sort of halting of sport.
Get ready for the Namibia 2027 World Cup preparation campaign. Check out the Valvicia's Boerland Cavaliers friendly clash live on NTV, DSTV, GoTV and our Facebook pages, playing on the 22nd of February 2025 at the Hage Geingob Stadium. Tune in at 2:30 p.m. to catch the game at 3 p.m. No spectators allowed due to the mourning period in honor of Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nyoma.
Now, as you know, the nation of Namibia is currently in a period of mourning as we are mourning the passing of Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nyoma, the founding father and founding president of this great nation. However, there's been some controversy with regards to how the sport engagement has been handled. First, it was the directive was that there would be no sport events, and then it was there would be no spectators at sport, and a lot of people then just pulled back their sporting events because, without spectators, how much can you really get done? So here's Jesse Jackson Kauraitha's interview with outspoken consultant Osen Kahiriri on this halting of sports.
Good day, viewers, and I'm joined here, that is by a labor unionist, a football panelist, everything. You can give him all the names, a politician as well. That is Osen Kahiriri. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Jesse, for us to have met in 2025.
Yes, it's always...
the last time we met was Christmas time.
Christmas time, we did have something in the mix there.
Yes.
Well, we are here for a different topic, though. A lot of people are actually infuriated by the decision the government made in order to put all sporting events and gatherings on hold due to the mourning period of the late founding president of the Namibian nation. May his soul rest in peace, Dr. Shafishuna Daniel Nyoma. So what do you make of this decision by the government?
Yeah, first of all, Jesse, one would join the whole Namibian nations to send the condolences to the family, the Nyoma family, who are grieved in this loss of a great man, a leader of our time. We are a testimony to what he did to this nation. So it's a big loss, and we join the whole Namibian nation to mourn such a big icon of our lifetime. So as you rightfully said, things happen. The president is no more, but there were, I don't know whether it's secular or directives that came out that we are suspending sport activities. But today we also, if it's not today, but late yesterday, we also received secular also from the Minister of Information and Technology, discouraging the Namibian people from activities that would what is the word they use there?
They will seem as celebratory.
Disrespectful
Yes,
to,
yes.
to the mourning of the president. And so large public gathering are not allowed this time and place up until we have buried the president, the late president. Now, for one to have taken that, one should have derived such powers from the Namibian constitution. That's why today you see political parties are in court trying to argue the powers that the president has to suspend or extend or make decisions. And one of them are these. Someone works in the Ministry of Sports and in terms of the constitution has limited powers, administrative powers, not powers where one suspend chapter 3 of the Namibian constitution. You can't suspend it, but there are times that you can suspend it in terms of state of emergency. You remember the COVID time, such rights were suspended, but before they get suspended, the president declared a state of emergency. It becomes a proclamation, and once it becomes a proclamation, everybody is bound to that proclamation. Now you are suspending fundamental rights, and from a logical perspective, African Star playing semi-final of the Maris Cup football gathering. How disrespectful is it to a mourning nation? We know that in Europe, football, they lose important people. I know they suspended only the games over the weekend.
Yes,
when the
Queen of
was being mourned, but that was just for that specific week. But here, we would know that this issue would go on for weeks. We don't know when they will announce as to what would happen to the burial activities and all that. Now everybody has planned. Me myself, I have also booked a place in Marinda. That was last week Friday, where I would see myself should have been there by Friday to enjoy my Valentine's and then the semi-final games. Those bookings I have to pay 50% of that booking
prior to leaving.
Prior to leaving, I've lost. It's not me alone. There are people that has prepared to go to Marindal and all these things. And I also have my partner in South Africa who also wanted to come down. He's already bought the ticket. All these things are what one would see that the justifications of what the decision was. But in law, I do not see the authority of one suspending of those games. No, the minister does not have those.
Well, looking from a humanities perspective, you rightly so stated that in terms of the law and all, it doesn't really require you to bring this kind of events on a halt, and also in the manner in which it was announced through a secular, something just being released and all that. What do you think the response from the Namibian nation could be?
You see, when one takes actions in their office, it requires that public officials, which is the minister, when they take decisions, they must be reasonable, justifiable, and fair. And they must also be informed by law. Now the law says, if you look at Article 22, 1B, says yes, one might have the right to suspend, but give us the articles that you are suspending in terms of the Constitution, and give us the reason in terms of the Constitution. Now, rights that give you the right to suspend such, but that powers are also not in the minister. They are in a president. And now that is, and you know, from a moral perspective, I think it's high time that our government officials are undermining the patience and the tolerance of our people. Because we are very patient people, and one should not abuse that. Because you go to an extent to tell people that maybe they have weddings over the weekend and it's a large crowd. You must extend your marital activities.
Some of the remedies that could be done would be like providing incentives or covering for the losses those people might have occurred during that period. Do you think that is possible from this government?
You see, when one takes a decision, they sometimes don't calculate the effect that such action has. As I've rightfully said, the loss of preparations and everything. I know that we know such games are done by the NFA, a badly wounded financial institution. That institution is suffering financially, but now it has spent a portion of money for the preparations of this weekend activities, which is now
Mariska.
yeah, but are they going to be refunded? That's the question. Who's going to refund them? And what channels are you going to get your money through? Because I remember sometimes we have cases with the government. They would come there, an official would come there and would agree with you, but when it comes to payment, it's back and forth, and you just forget about that. So that's the bureaucracy that one has. But now a decision is taken and there's these repercussions. But maybe next time, because you know, this is not the first time we lose a president of the caliber of the current late president. We had a president that was in office who passed on. Just within hours, we found a replacement to him. That's the tolerance I'm talking about. Yes. And the patience of these people. But nothing was suspended. It was business as usual, and up until the burial of the president. Sometimes we exaggerate and want to escalate people at levels that would sometimes make it bad for the receivers. Sometimes would make bad judgments and say, why is this person being treated special? Why this one was not? So we sometimes invite this discussion, which is unnecessary. You see, we divide these nations by actions we are making. That's why people are now frustrated from their home, because they have their plans in terms of what they are going to do for these 2-3 weeks that is going to come. And I know that this president will be buried in 3-4 weeks.
All right, thank you so much. That was the voice of Master Olsen Kahiriri, making some points there about the current situation that is the halting of sporting activities in the country. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with soccer news first. It is a Champions League, UEFA Champions League big game that was played, and it was the biggest game was Real Madrid, and they beat Manchester City by 3-1. That was a home game for Real Madrid, and that gave them an aggregate win of 6-3 over the two legs, and they through to the last 16. So Manchester City out of the Champions League for this season. It was Kylian Mbappe. He scored 3 times for Manchester, or for Real Madrid rather, and he scored in the 4th minute already, and then also in the 33rd minute and in the 61st minute, and it was a consolation goal in the 92nd minute for Manchester City. Other results was Borussia Dortmund. They beat Sporting Lisbon by 3-0 for aggregate, or they've got an aggregate of 3-0 after a 0-all draw. Dortmund through to the last 16. Then PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, they beat Brest comfortably. A big score, 7-0. Aggregate there was 10-0. So PSG also through. And then PSG Eindhoven, they beat Juventus in a very exciting game by 3-1. That was what was needed, because they had an aggregate win of 4-3. 3 to go through to the last 16. Also a game played in the English Premier League, important game it was for the lot leaders. It was Liverpool that travelled to Aston Villa. They dropped points because the game ended by 2 goals to all in when the final whistle blew, and that means that Liverpool's got 61 league points after 26 games. They've played one more than Arsenal on 25 games for 53 points. So Arsenal very close to them now, and if Arsenal can win the next game against West Ham at home, they will be just 5 points in it. And Liverpool, a tough assignment for them on Sunday. They play Manchester City away, so that is not all difficult assignments for Liverpool at the moment. On to tennis news. It is Dubai Tennis Championship on the women's calendar. Aryna Sabalenka, she's out of the tournament. The first seed lost to Clara Thyssen of Denmark, and then number 2 seed, it's Iga Swiatek. She's safely through. She beat Daria Jestrenska by 7-5 and 6-love. On the men's side of tennis, it's the Qatar Open, and there Matteo Berrettini of Italy continuing his good form. He beat Novak Djokovic earlier, and he beat Dylan Griekspoor as well, and he's through to the next round. And then also Carlos Alcaraz, number 1 seed, beating Luca Nardi in 3 sets. Then to close off today's international sports news, it's rugby news. The Six Nations continue this coming weekend. One of the games, Ireland, that will play against Wales, and there's a few changes in the team, and there's a new captain. It will be the hooker Dan Sheehan that will be the captain for Ireland this Saturday. First time he will captain the country, and he becomes the 111th men's player to captain Ireland on the rugby field. It's the normal captain, that's regular captain. It's Keelan Doris. He's out with a knee injury, and he's replaced by Jack Conan in the run on 15. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day. We talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.